Hello traders, welcome back to the channel. This is Jonah with Trading the Charts Pro, and guys, in this video we're going to break down how to use Bollinger Band squeeze as a strategy. How do we identify stocks that have fallen into a period of low volatility and is about to break out and squeeze, so we can really use that as a play to the upside or the downside. All right, we're using real-time examples here to walk you through understanding how this takes place from beginning to end. Stay tuned. We're going to break it all down right here, right now. Okay, traders, so before we are able to use Bollinger Band as a study, we first have to understand, what is a Bollinger Band squeeze. And here we have a quick definition. A Bollinger Band squeeze occurs when a stock falls into a period of low volatility, which means volatility or the normal volatility in that stock slows down into a period of low volatility, which caused the Bollinger Bands to contract. All right, this contraction typically will signify that basically the stock is going to make a huge advance or a significant decline once the squeeze start to take place. So basically, once the stock start to break out of the Bollinger Band, which is considered the squeeze, the break out of the band is the squeeze, then that's where we would look to take a move or take a entry on that stock in anticipation of the squeeze or that big move to the upside, that big move to the downside. All right, so we're going to look at two examples today that will help us to understand what does it look like when a stock falls into low volatility, and what does it look like when the stock starts to break out of that squeeze and start to move higher or lower with increased volatility. At the end of this video, I'm going to show you one trade that I'm currently in right here, right now, where I am anticipating that the squeeze is about to take place on that stock. All right, so the first stock we're looking at here is XC. All right, so guys, when we look at XC chart, the stock was moving up, very, very volatile. All right, and then after earnings, right around this period here, we realized the stock gapped down. After the gap down, we see the stock just started to move in a sideways basis, and typically when that happens, the stock is starting to build a base. All right, so this line here is my upper Bollinger Band. This line to the downside, blue, is my lower Bollinger Band, and this is my mid Bollinger Band line. All right, so when we look at just the study of the Bollinger Band, we can see while we're in this area, the stock is very, very volatile. It's bouncing from the lower Bollinger Band to the higher end of the Bollinger Band. All right, so when we look at that, how do we use this as a strategy? So typically, we're really looking for stocks that has moved into a tight consolidation or in a tight Bollinger Band squeeze. All right, so whenever stocks move into a Bollinger Band squeeze, when the breakout takes place, we are looking for a explosive move either to the upside or to the downside. Now, based on what the chart is telling you, that will help you to navigate whether the move is going to be a move to the upside or a move to the downside. All right, so based on Etsy's chart, we can see that when the stock broke down, it literally broke down to the 165, where this was a old support level here, and it just continues to hold that level as a support. So when we look at a potential old support to the upside, which has the probability of becoming resistance, once the stock was able to break out above that level, which you can see this typically right here is the first day the stock broke out of the Bollinger Band. And once we got the break out of the Bollinger Band, you see the stock just continues to walk or ride the band on the outside until, you know, we literally break back into the Bollinger Band. So after we took our entry right here, how do you know when to basically get out of the trade if you're riding the trade using the Bollinger Band or the upper band as your guide? So basically, as long as the stock continues to stay above the upper Bollinger Band to the upside, we will continue to stay in that trade, trailing our trailing stop to the upside and taking as much of this as the market gives to you. All right, personally, I caught this on the entry right above 175, and I did get out right at this day here because I wasn't confident in what it was gonna do next in the short term, because it was like moving super slow. So I ended up rolling out of this and moving into something else. But what is most important is being able to identify this period where the stock moves into a contraction or into a tight Bollinger Band squeeze. All right, and when we get that tight Bollinger Band squeeze, then we will be watching to see if the stock breaks out, or when it breaks out, if we can get a opportunity, if it's a breakout to the upside, to go long, and if it's a breakout to the downside, if there's an opportunity to go short, based on the bigger picture of what price action has been doing. All right, so we're going to look at one more study, and this second study is looking at SWKS, Skyworks Solution. This stock is a semiconductor. Again, when we look at the history of this stock, very volatile, very volatile, until they had one bad earnings. The stock gapped down, continues to fall until it got down to $160. When it got to 160, that was, you know, a support level that held very nicely, and we see the stock had a double bottom here, and then it run up into a tight Bollinger Band squeeze or into a tight consolidation. Right after we got the consolidation breakout, right, then we realized that volatility is coming back in. How do we know that volatility is coming back in? Because at this point we start to see the bands starting to widen. All right, so when the band increase in size, this is signifying that, okay, there is a lot more volatility coming in, and this move will continue in the direction that is already going in. Because when we look at it right around this area, we had the contraction already, so the squeeze is now taking place, and that's why we see the stock just continues to move very hard to the upside. All right, so that's how you use the Bollinger Band to find stocks that are currently in a squeeze, and after they get a break out of the squeeze and we start to see the bands expanding, this is a opportunity to go along in the direction that the squeeze is taking place in, or the breakout is moving in. All right, so now we're right here to the end, and guys, what is present in this stock right here? Uber, that we see was present in the previous two stocks that we look at, which is Etsy and Skyworks. Well, the stock fell, right? Both stocks fell very hard, right? Pull down. They found some support to the lower side, bounce, and after we got the bounce, price run into a consolidation, right? So when we look at this, what process, or where are we in the process of the squeeze? We have literally been through the consolidation, and now I am anticipating that the next move from this point with Uber is going to be the move where we start to see the Bollinger Bands start to expand. And when we get the expanding of the Bollinger Band, this will increase volatility, or this will be a sign that volatility is increasing. And once we get the sign of a increasing volatility, typically we are looking for a breakout in price action. All right, so how do I plan a trade around all of this right here? Well, I currently have my position. You can see my position here. I use options. So what I'm looking at, my trade plan for this, let's lay it out. Let's lay it out. So first thing we have to do is we have to identify our risk level. So first thing we want to do is put in our resistance level, right? Where can the stock go from the current level that is sitting at? And from this level, right, which we can also see some form of support right here, which has the probability of becoming resistance. So we will not take a trade until we get a clear breakout above this level. But for me, I'm more aggressive, so I'm already waiting for the breakout. So a breakout above 51.71 will give us a opportunity to get a 10-point move from 51 to 61 to the upside. If I am wrong, I am looking to see this thing break down below 48, and that will give me about a 4-point risk to the downside. All right, so because I like this, we're going to move over to the next step, and I'm going to show you, okay, what is the option play that I'm looking at for this specific stock, for this specific setup. All right, so we don't know when it's gonna break out as yet, but I want to be in this play in anticipation of a breakout. All right, so I'm looking at December, which give me roughly about 5 months for the stock to break out and move to the upside, and I'm using options, so I want to be in the money. I'm looking at the 45 calls, right, which will be, you know, pretty deep into the money. My delta on those calls are going to be about 73, 0.73, so 73 cents. My open interest is very sufficient, so clearly there's a lot of people interested at playing at the 45 calls. The intrinsic value and extrinsic value is not correct right here. Technically, this should be about $3 for time and a little bit more for my intrinsic value, right? But given that I have 4 to 5 months for this stock to play out, I currently have 15 contracts sitting at the 45 call, and I am just waiting to see when this thing breaks out, if I can pick up about $9 on my option, which basically should give me close to around 80 to 90% return on this trade, assuming all goes well. All right, so guys, I hope you did get some clarity on how to spot stocks that are currently in a Bollinger Band squeeze, and then with your understanding of the bigger picture, how price action move, uptrend, downtrend, where is the direction of the stock going, then you can use this strategy to help you pinpoint entries. And you can also use the riding of the upper band once we get the breakout to guide you in that trade. If price breaks to the downside, you can use the riding of the lower Bollinger Band to the downside. Once the stock starts to pull away from the band, then you will look to close that trade out. All right, so thank you very much for watching. I look forward to see you in my next video.